Hey guys, thanks for watching. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about why your foundation is not staying on your face. And I used to have this problem and I could not figure out why my foundation wasn't staying on my face. So I did a ton of research and I've also tried a bunch of different products and I've kind of found the ones that work for me. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about what products you need in order to help your foundation to stay on your face and last, a lot longer than what it does now. So the first step is your good skincare, and that means like having a good base even before. So you could have the best foundation, but if you don't have any, good skincare, it doesn't matter because the foundation will not stay on your face. So the first thing is that you're going to need to wash your face in the morning and in the evening. And you want to find a cleanser that, works for your skin type, and everyone's skin's different. And you kind of have to find what works for you. And I would say that's the hardest part about skincare and just in general anything with skin is you have to find what works for you. So what may work for, your best friend may not work for you because you guys have different skin and skin types. So a lot of things are trial and error, but if you go to if you go to someone that specializes in skin and skincare, they can help you with that, but that also is really expensive. So you kind of just have to figure out what works for you. But you always want to cleanse and moisturize if those are the only two things that you do. If you're just really simple, you want to make sure you always cleanse your face in the morning and in the evening, and after you cleanse, you want to make sure you put on a moisturizer. And it doesn't have to be any, expensive products. It can easily be from the drugstore. Those work great too. So there are other steps to skincare that you can do, but I would say the minimal steps that you should do are cleanse your face and moisturize. So after you've put your moisturizer on, in the morning, you want to wait for it to dry and soak into your skin. And then afterwards, you're going to put on a primer. And a primer will just also help, your foundation stay on longer. And it kind of makes it so your foundation has something to stick to on your skin. And there's different types of primers. So, for example, there's one that will fill in your pores if you have large pores, or if you have oily skin, it'll help control the oil. So you want to also, find a primer that, works for your skin type. And once you find that and you like the primer, that'll also be really beneficial for your skin too. So after you've put your moisturizer on, let it dry, then you have to put your primer on, let it dry, and then you can go in with your foundation. And depending on the foundation too, there's a couple different types. The basic types would be matte, dewy, and then normal. So for me, at least in the summer, I cannot wear a dewy foundation. It just slides right off my face because it is just so hot. I live in Florida, so it's so hot that it doesn't matter what I do, it's not going to stay on my face because, I walk outside and I'm instantly sweating. So in the summer, I like to use a matte foundation, but in the winter, when it's a little bit cooler and not as humid and my skin is a little bit more dry, I like to use a more dewy or normal foundation, or sometimes I'll even mix a dewy and matte foundation together. And sometimes I just like the finish of that better than if I were just straight up, use just a dewy foundation or something. So you can kind of mix and match your foundations too. A lot of people do like to mix different types of foundations together and kind of create their own combination. So that's something you could also try too. And I would say again with the foundation, it's just dependent on your skin and your preference. So if you like your face to be matte, then obviously you're going to go for a matte foundation. But if you like to be a little bit more dewy and, and you don't have super oily skin, then you could use a dewy foundation. Now, if you also find that, let's say right in here, it's kind of more oily, you could use a matte foundation in your T-zone, and then around the face, you could use a more dewy foundation. And that way you're not mixing the foundation, and it won't look weird having two different finishes. It'll just make it to this part, maybe you're dry down here. If you use a dewy foundation, it'll kind of balance out in between, so it'll look a little bit more even. So sometimes, you can do that too to change things up. So after you put your foundation on, most likely you're going to put on your concealer That's just basic concealer, not a big deal. And then after you have, all of your liquid products on, so maybe you like to contour or bronze with a cream bronzer or contour, you want to put that on too. And then after everything liquid or cream is on your face, then you're going to go in with a powder. And there's two different types of powder. There's a translucent one and a more like pressed one. And the loose one, it's like one of those things where you like shake it and then the powder like comes out and you like dip your brush in, tap it off, and then you put it on your face. And the pressed one is where the powder is all pressed together. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. And either one is, again, your preference, but as long as you set your face with a powder, it's gonna make it so that, again, the stuff, your foundation and everything doesn't slide off of your face. So you wanna set your face with the powder, and then there's also a translucent powder, and then there's powder that has color in it. And personally, I like using a translucent powder because I don't want to change the color of my foundation. Like I match my foundation to my skin, so I'd rather just use a translucent, and translucent means no color. So I'd rather just use a translucent powder. That way I'm not, changing any color, or if I've done, highlighting and contouring already, it's not going to change what I've done. So that's also, again, personal preference, but sometimes you can, you may want some extra coverage. So that's why having, a colored powder can also be good too. So after you have your powder on your face, then you can go in with your blush, your highlight, and your bronzer or contour. And the reason you want to do that after the powder is so it doesn't get like muddy on your face or cakey. And if you have a powder on before you put more powder on, and the reason is that like with the loose powder to set your face, you're not going to be trying to blend it. With blush and your bronzer, you're going to be blending it into your skin to get a smooth line. So if you have a powder already down, it's going to make it a lot easier to blend into your skin. So after you have all of your powders on, then you can go in with a makeup setting spray. And of course, there are a ton of different setting sprays. Some are just basic setting spray. Some have a dewy finish to them, or like a more of a glow finish, or some it's like a matte setting spray. So again, just find what works for you. And there's one, I used one from the drugstore, which is the e.l.f. setting spray, and I personally think that works great, and it's only $3. And I would say I used quite a bit of setting spray, so I don't want to spend, a ton of money on it when I'm going through it really fast. So maybe for a special occasion, you could use something that's a little bit more higher end. But for an everyday basis, I think that drugstore products, work great. I would say for special occasion, night out is when I would personally use my higher end products, just because being in college, I do not have money to be spending on a lot of, higher end, more expensive products. So I cannot use that for every day because I do not have the money, at this point in time to do that. But I'm sure later on in life, I will definitely be using higher end products, on a day-to-day basis. But if you can't afford that, you don't need that to complete a flawless face. It's personal preference to your skin, but the steps are all the same. So the steps are the same, but the products that you use are different. And the reason for using a setting spray is that it'll help combine the liquids and the powders together. That way you don't get that kind of like cakey, or like where it looks like you're wearing so much makeup. It'll kind of make it so that the powder blends into the liquid, and it'll just give you a more flawless finish, and it'll help your makeup to stay on longer. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope that it helped you, with your foundation. And of course, if you guys have any questions, please just comment down below and I'll be happy to answer them.